James Carter was born in the Deep South, in a small Alabama town where the air smelled of rain, soil, and struggle. His father was a mechanic, his mother a nurse's aide who worked double shifts. They didn't have much, just a small wooden house and a belief that hard work could build a better life. James grew up watching his parents give everything, and he promised himself he'd do the same for his family someday. When James turned 18, he left for Chicago with nothing but a suitcase, a Bible, and a dream. The city was cold, fast, and unforgiving. He slept on couches, worked night shifts in warehouses, and learned to stretch a dollar like it was elastic. Yet he kept going, because he believed in something bigger. At 25, James met Lisa, a woman with a warm smile and eyes full of hope. She worked as a school secretary, kind but strong, someone who understood what struggle meant. They married in a small church with only a few friends watching. There was no fancy wedding. No honeymoon. Just two souls promising to walk through fire together. They built their life from scratch. James worked two jobs, one at a factory by day, another driving a city bus at night. Lisa stayed home after their first child, Michael, was born. Then came Jasmine, full of laughter and curiosity. And finally David, quiet but brilliant. The small apartment often echoed with the sounds of laughter, gospel music, and Lisa calling out, "Dinner's ready, y'all." On weekends, James would take the kids to the park, pushing them on swings until his hands were sore. He never complained. He just smiled, saying, "This is what a man's supposed to do." But life, as it often does, began to test him. When Michael turned 15, the factory where James worked shut down. The company moved overseas, and hundreds of men were left jobless. James was devastated, but he couldn't show it. He started driving a delivery truck. It paid less, but he kept food on the table. Lisa started working part-time at the school again. Together, they held the family steady, just barely. There were nights when James came home past midnight, too tired to eat. He'd just sit by his children's room, listening to their soft breathing, whispering a prayer. "Lord, let them have better lives than mine." Years passed. Michael went to college on a scholarship, the first in the family to make it that far. Jasmine followed, studying nursing. David, the youngest, was gifted with computers. James and Lisa sold their car to help buy him a laptop. They never thought twice. Every dollar they had went to their children. Every dream they ever held was wrapped around their kids' success. James used to say, "If my kids stand tall, that means I did my job right." And for a while, it seemed like that dream came true. Michael graduated and got a job in Atlanta. Jasmine moved to New York. David found work in California. They all became successful, busy, independent. Everything James and Lisa had hoped for. But distance has a way of changing things. The phone calls became less frequent. Birthdays turned into text messages. Holidays were maybe next year. And when Lisa fell sick, cancer, the children came for a few days, then left again. James never blamed them. He told himself they had lives to live. He took care of Lisa through every round of chemo, every sleepless night, every tear. He cooked her favorite soup even when she couldn't eat. When she finally passed, James sat beside her bed, holding her hand long after her heart stopped. For the first time in 40 years, he felt truly alone. After the funeral, the children stayed a few days. They promised to call often, to visit soon. But weeks passed, then months. The calls stopped coming. James tried to stay strong. He found work as a store greeter at a local supermarket. His back hurt, his eyesight was fading, but he refused to quit. Every time he saw a young couple with kids, he'd smile and say, "You take care of your folks now. They're doing their best." But the world didn't notice men like James anymore. By 70, his health began to fail. His knees ached, his blood pressure was high, and his small pension barely covered rent. One winter night, he fainted in his kitchen. A neighbor found him and called the ambulance. When he woke up in the hospital, the first thing he asked for was his kids. The nurse called the numbers in his phone. Michael said he'd try to come next week. Jasmine said she was in the middle of a big project. David didn't answer at all. James smiled through the disappointment. "They're busy," he said softly. "That's a good thing." But inside, his heart broke. The hospital released him after a few days, and he returned to an empty apartment. He tried to call again. No answer. He sent messages. Nothing. His landlord started complaining about late rent. He'd smile and say, "You take care of your folks now. They're doing their best." His body was getting weaker, and loneliness wrapped around him like a cold blanket. One rainy evening, James sat by the window, watching the streetlights shimmer through the drops. His hands trembled as he looked through an old photo album. Pictures of Michael's graduation, Jasmine's birthday, David's first day of school, Lisa smiling beside him in every frame. He whispered, "I did everything I could. I gave them everything I had." His voice cracked and tears rolled down his wrinkled cheeks. The next morning, his landlord knocked on the door. No answer. Hours passed. Concerned, the man entered with a spare key and found James sitting peacefully in his chair. Eyes closed, Bible in his lap, a gentle smile on his face. He was gone. When the children were notified, they flew in, one by one. Michael stood in silence, guilt shadowing his eyes. Jasmine wept quietly, holding her father's O. David couldn't stop staring at the worn-out Bible, its pages filled with little notes in their father's handwriting. At the funeral, the pastor spoke softly. Brother James was a man who gave everything for love. He worked, he struggled, he sacrificed, and now he rests in peace. Let his life be a reminder. Love your parents while you still can. Don't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow might not come. After the service, the siblings sat together for the first time in years. There was an emptiness between them, the kind that words couldn't fill. Michael finally said, "We were so busy building our own lives, we forgot the man who made it all possible." Jasmine sobbed, "He called me so many times, and I just didn't have time." David whispered, "He died alone, and it's our fault." They went back to the old apartment. The walls still smelled of coffee and old wood. On the fridge, a note was pinned, written in James's shaky handwriting. "Don't be angry at life, my children. Be kind, be grateful, and never forget where you came from." They read it again and again. None of them spoke. But in that moment, something shifted, a painful, necessary awakening. Michael used his savings to set up a small foundation in their father's name, the James Carter Family Fund, to help elderly parents struggling alone. Jasmine began visiting nursing homes every weekend. David started calling his own children every night, telling them stories of their grandfather, the man who gave them everything without ever asking for anything back. The years moved on, but the guilt stayed. It became a quiet companion, a voice reminding them of what truly matters. Parents are the silent builders of our dreams. They carry us when we cannot walk, feed us when we have nothing, and pray for us when the world turns away. But as time passes, we forget that their hearts still beat for us, even when ours no longer notice them. Don't wait until it's too late. Call them, visit them, hug them, tell them you love them. Because one day, their chair will be empty, their phone will stop ringing, and their voice will fade into memory. And all you'll wish for is one more chance to say thank you. If you like this real story, do not forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Rise and Restore with Hassan Mir. Thank you for your time. See you in my next story, which are real, emotional, motivational, and lessons of life.